2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. How do I find healthy ways to know I'm enough if I don't have physical intimacy? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
What's going on, you guys? Tyler, your wandering therapist here. I'm flying solo again without Brannon today. As I mentioned in our last episode, Brannon is being a family man right now and getting some downtime. He took his whole family to a beautiful place down in southern Utah called Lake Powell. And it's just a beautiful, amazing place, great place to recharge. And I hope he's having a lot of fun there and getting a lot of good time with his family. So I'm excited to be here with you guys today. And it's probably my turn to cover a little bit anyway. I think he's covered me a little bit in the past few weeks anyway. So just a couple of things mentioned really quickly. We're getting really close to the Rising Sun Retreat. Really excited about it. September 25th through the 28th in Bear Lake, Utah. I just took a drive up there this weekend to scope out a few things that we want to try to be doing with some of the activities, and the leaves are already starting to turn. So it's going to be like beautiful, amazing fall colors. And we've got a really good group of men that are already coming. We have just a few slots left. So if you're interested, risingsun.org, we would love to have you. It's like the hallmark thing that Brannon and I do. You will not regret it if you decide to pull the trigger and come. And if you feel something burning inside of you and you've been holding back on it, I'd encourage you to step in with that courage and come join us and see what it's about. So secondly, we're going to have another caller today, which I'm really excited about. We love having callers, therapybrothers.com. Go there. If you have any questions, anything you want to bring up about your own journey, your own recovery, whether you're a couple, a single, divorced, together, we would love to be able to field your questions and have a discussion because you are the secret ingredient to this show. So please come join us. We'd love to have you. You sign up over there and you'll just get a slot on a time slot and you'll come on and record with us. So we'd love to have you. We have a return caller today. He's been with us a few times now. We haven't scared him away yet. So he's been known as Buzz, and now he's also known as Micah. He's done both. But Micah, welcome to the show. It's good to see you again, man.
Great to be here, Tyler.
Yeah, man. Tell us a little bit about what your question is and what we can do to help.
Yeah, awesome. First thing, I'd like to just shout out to your last caller. Um, that takes a lot of courage, and I salute her for that. And that was heavy to listen to because as a former addict or addict in recovery, I could put myself in her husband's shoes in so many places in my past, and I just want to give a heartfelt shout out that took some courage, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome,
Um,
man. Thanks, Micah.
so yeah, so what I'd like to ask today is, I have a history leading back to my teen years of socially being kind of second place. I was never the popular guy in my teen years, and that's so even with relationships, I took the leftovers because we were in a closed religious community, and so all the pretty cute girls, the popular girls were, all the popular guys had them, and whoever was left in our church, you might get one of them to look your way. And then when I was 21, I was engaged to be married to a lady, and 2 days before the wedding, she gave me the ring back while I was at my bachelor party. And so ever since then, I that was another sign to me, symbol to me that I wasn't good enough for somebody once again. And I went 7 years without dating until I dated my wife I'm with now because I couldn't take the risk of not being good enough for somebody else. Being no, thank you, this isn't going to work. I just couldn't do that again. And then through my addiction years and everything, my wife, I can't fathom how she felt through this time of her feeling like she was not good enough. I just can't comprehend, wrap my mind around the hurt that I put her through. Um, but now we've been for just a little over 4 years now in an in-house separation because I had relapsed, and she needed some space, and that space is still ongoing. And I know that my being good enough, my being worthy, does not hinge on my physical intimacy. But it's still, I can't, because my conservative upbringing, that was something that you saved for when you said I do. We didn't even have physical contact during courtship. So physical contact, physical intimacy was because a girl would say I do to you and spend the rest of your life, was like the stamp of being good enough. And now that there is no physical intimacy in the relationship, I struggle with saying, yeah, I'm not good enough anymore, even though I know I'm a good man and that God approves of me and accepts me. But it's still, I don't know how way to say it, except you've seen these fundraiser posters. It looks like a thermometer, and that we've raised this much money so far and so far, and I have these waypoints, these milestones, and to me, it's kind of been like the acceptance um, thermometer of, you're this good now, you're this accepted, and when you say I do, kind of it peaks out, and I'm worthy of all acceptance, including physical intimacy and sexual relationship. Because saying I do implies that you're good enough for all of that. And now I've been there, done that, had beautiful children, which I love dearly with this woman. I'm good enough to pay her bills, to keep the house, to do my share of the domestic, responsibilities, do all these things, but I'm not good enough for physical intimacy. And I really, really, really struggle with this, finding ways to tell myself, yeah, you are good enough. You're acceptable without this component in the relationship. And I know it's not healthy, and I throw that back on her. And I don't want to, because what she's her own recovery is got to be so hard for her. I can't imagine putting myself in her shoes, but I've got to get some help with this. So yeah, go.
Gotcha. So if I'm hearing this right, and there's probably a lot more to the story than what you just shared with us, Micah, there's been a hole inside your heart about not measuring up or being good enough, almost maybe since almost you can remember.
Yeah.
And in the process of trying to fill that hole, whether it's been through ways that you were taught about physical and sexual intimacy, or ways that you socialized yourself through whatever addiction, pornography, or whatever else, the way you were taught about sexuality, maybe there was some lifetime experiences. There's obviously a previous engagement, and then also a current marriage that go into this, that factor all into it. If I'm hearing you right, the message that you've been living as if it's true is that the ultimate stamp of approval is when a woman will engage with me physically or sexually.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And we can maybe even look back even just a little bit of what you said, and almost see the dots, maybe wanting to try to start to connect as to how that story could become that way. Right.
Okay.
I don't think it's actually out of the ordinary. I think your question is actually pretty common. Like if this wasn't such a vulnerable topic to talk about, and if I was to throw this out to our whole audience and say, how many of you people relate to this right now? I would bet you'd get a whole bunch of people saying, I've totally felt that way too, but never even put words to it before. So I don't think you're out of the ordinary. And I think this is actually a pretty normal kind of issue to wrestle with, maybe more so than you think it is. So I'm glad you're here and willing to talk a little bit about it today. There's a couple of thoughts that I have. There's like 3 different paths in my brain that I'd like to go down with you, and I don't know if we'll get to all 3 or not. So we'll go with one, and then we'll go with another, and then we'll go with another if we get to it all. All right. So the first one is that we as human beings, on a certain level, we're kind of wired for attachment, connection, even physical touch. Right? So, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before, but the Romania orphanage studies kind of illustrate this in a pretty stark way, that, these infants who were staying in this orphanage, they'd get enough food, warmth, shelter, but they were having massive emotional problems, and some of them were even just dying out of the blue. And what they found is that it was the physical touch element that was actually a necessary piece for these children as they were trying to develop and have their brains grow and basically have survival. So on a certain level, what you're feeling is a normal feeling to have, that we all want to have some level of kind of physical connection with people, right? That's why, like, when somebody dies and there's no good answer, a hug is the best thing you can give somebody, right? So you have that already going on inside of you. The question is how did that kind of a physical need, human need, get wrapped up into the storyline that you either are or are not acceptable or valuable or important or lovable if you don't have that, especially physical touch or sexual intimacy with a woman? Where do you think that those, if you could, just think about that for a second, where do you think those dots connect even further in your life?
I really don't want to say about that. And you probably see deeper into it than I do.
Okay. Let me just give maybe a personal example for a second, and you can see if any of this rings a bell for you. This is something that I've thought about for myself. My first exposure to pornography was probably around 12 or 13. And something inside of me that day sort of kind of just like came alive. I didn't even know it was like, I didn't really know what it was, but it came alive. And then over the course of like my teen years, it went from like curiosity, and then it turned into like entertainment, and then it went from entertainment to like emotional coping. And I started to realize that this thing did something to me that like really made me feel, it was almost like medicine. Mm-hmm. And I had a few traumatic events happen in the process of this kind of sexuality thing developing inside of me. And I believe that my pursuit of those sexual things eventually kind of came to an intersection with a way to cope with my needs emotionally. And that's where it started to formulate like different beliefs about myself, my sexuality, everything else. And eventually what it came to is that this was such a powerful solution for so many things in my life that it kind of made sense that maybe it could also fill the hole inside of me that maybe I wasn't enough. And so I could get this little bit of respite every time I'd go and look at porn, or every time I'd go and have some kind of an interaction, or even all the way into my marriage. It became the place where I was trying to extract an answer from my wife that I was good enough, rather than offering my good enoughness to her and letting us share in that together.
Right.
But it kind of developed that way, and I didn't even know it was developing that way because of how slowly it developed through the combination of being a teenage boy, leaning into having to learn about sexuality with all of the things that I was taught, both healthy and not healthy, plus the emotional problems that I was trying to solve. And when those two things intersected, it became like the most powerful medicine there was. So it made sense that that would maybe be my answer to these bigger, deeper questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Because I look back, the vast majority of my addiction process, the events during my addiction, was because I felt like I was good enough for somebody. I was acceptable to somebody, even if it was in my own mind, in my imagination. I was good enough for somebody in that moment. And of course, afterwards, you feel like a failure because you just failed yourself and your values again. And now you're doubly not good enough. And
Yeah, that's the twisted part of the brain and how it works, is because we think we can take ourselves there and feel like we're getting that answer, but then in the aftermath, we kind of come to our senses again and go like, like, I heard another doctor, he called that like that moment right after you act out, like you get wrapped up in all that denial and everything, and then right after you act out, he called it post-nut clarity. And all of a sudden you kind of like, you kind of like come to your senses and you're like, oh my gosh, like what did I just do? I just betrayed my values. I didn't get my answer. I'm still empty. It's still not the solution, even though it sure felt like it was promising me that's what it was going to be. Right. And you think about that process, and then taking that into a relationship where now there's pressure on the relationship all the time. Think about the pressure your wife must have felt over the years without even knowing what was really going on to be the answer. Oh, yeah. And then never have it quite satisfy or be the answer.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
The hurt has just had been huge. I can't.
Right. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that to make you feel bad about yourself.
No, totally. Like, I can sit in it. That's fine.
No, but I'm saying that this is a pattern that's really common in marriages, and a lot of marriages don't even realize that this is happening. Where I have this happen so often, where a husband comes into my office and he's like, "All we need is just more sex, because that means that then I feel safe and I feel good enough and I feel this and I feel that." And I'm looking at the wife and she's going like, "It feels like a bottomless pit. Like." I don't have any more to give, and it's never gonna solve the answer to his value. And then what happens is that then she feels worn out. She feels like a failure herself. She feels like all these other things start to happen. There begins to be resentment, and then the marriage starts to go further and further distant. And it's not that the physical intimacy is the answer; it's the way the physical intimacy is being treated in the relationship that's going to be there an enhancement, or it's going to be something that becomes something that starts to split the couple further and further apart. Okay. Right. So your question then is I'm starting to recognize this inside myself, and you'd be probably betraying yourself if you're like, I want to kill off all need for physical touch, because that's probably not authentic to you. But you do want to change how you view physical touch as it relates to your value. Right? And then you said, yes. I think you said you also were wondering, how do I pursue building my sense of self or my own value when this physical part isn't happening in my life right now?
Right.
physical slash sexual part.
How do I be basically in a nutshell? I know to put it is how am I good enough for myself without this component?
Yeah.
How do I know what I'm good enough? How can I
Yeah.
build that?
Yeah. Good. This is a good question. So there, and I think there's like probably a few different things that could work in conjunction to help with this overall process. So the first question is, how did you come to know you weren't enough?
I mean, the rejection, the rejection, it's been 4 years now of no physical intimacy in the relationship, and
But you knew you weren't
so
enough before that.
well,
You believed that.
yeah, that's true, but okay, let's go further back than this then. I don't really know when that started. Probably sometime in my mid-teens, when the popular, whenever I started noticing girls, and we all go through that moment where we wake up one day and we like, I didn't see her that way before. The first time I ever noticed her, and all of a sudden, girls start looking pretty, and then whenever these girls start saying "who" to you, and you're like, well, what's wrong with me? And you start asking yourself those questions,
Yeah.
and it just kind of it seems like my whole life has been a stream of, well, she's pretty, and you know. And then after the first relationship fell apart, and now everybody's attitude was like, well, she had to have left you for some reason, so I was kind of like untouchable. Nobody, and then I just, nobody would even have anything to do with me as far as females went.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I built my own imaginary relationships through pornography, and because
Yeah. They didn't,
you can make yourself as acceptable as you wanted.
you didn't have to be vulnerable and you didn't get rejected.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Okay. So stick with me on this for
I
just
don't
a
know if that
second.
answered your question.
It
Go
does.
ahead.
It does. Yeah. I want to go a little further with it for a second with you, if it's okay.
Sure.
Um, so let's say you're a young teenager. You start kind of noticing that there's something really intriguing about these beautiful girls that are around you. At the same time, you referenced earlier that you're feeling like you're in a second tier with the other boys already. Like you don't already fit in with the other boys. Like you started getting rejected by the boys even before you did the girls.
Right.
Okay.
A little background on that is our group was part of a church from another church that the pastor said, I feel I've led you this congregation as far as I can. You guys can decide where you want to go from here. But I'm going to go attend this church in another state. And approximately half the church literally sold everything they had and went with it. So this church, and where I'm at in Arkansas now, the Missouri congregation integrated with the Arkansas congregation, and we were like part of it. We even growing up, all through, we were always known as part of the Missouri group, and it never integrated. We got here, and all the kids, the boys that grew up in this circle and this congregation, they just became a tighter clique, and we were just kind of the ones who hung around on the periphery of it, trying to be accepted and popular. And if you're cool enough, you could get conditional acceptance. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I never hit that.
Yeah. Okay, man. I'm looking at the look in your face and I can see that even as you tell the story, there's a little younger teenage part of you that's reliving that stuff and feeling some of that pain of rejection.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's still there. It's buried inside of you. I can see it coming in your eyes right now.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. Here's the point, Micah. And man, I'm getting emotional thinking about this for you, like, and thinking of all the other little boys that probably have had something similar. You didn't know it at the time. You didn't know it at the time, but you were having what's called an emotionally corrective experience, but it wasn't very corrective. you were having an emotionally powerful experience that was telling you that you didn't belong, that you didn't measure up, that you were never quite going to fit in, that you could run the periphery, but you're never actually really going to measure up and be good enough. And you didn't even know that that belief was being planted in your brain. You just felt it. Right. And you had multiple experiences with that, little moments, time and time and time and time again, of here's where you fall in the pecking order of life. And because of this is where you fall, this is what it must mean about you that you're not good enough. Right. So that young teenage boy now takes that belief and he carries it onto the next experience and the next experience and the next experience. And as he grows, he starts trying to pursue women because he was designed to do that. And then, of course...
1 second. I've just turned my...
I just lost your microphone. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Am I back?
Yeah, we're back. We got you back.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So
I just turned my car on for a second and it went to the hands-free function.
Oh, gotcha. That's the way it works. You're in the car office today. That's how it works. Yeah. So then you have this experience and they stack on top of each other and every experience then starts to reinforce itself. So now the brain has already been primed from a set of emotionally charged experiences that reinforces you'll never be enough, you'll never measure up. Like you can see it, but you can't quite have it. You're just close enough, but you're not quite there. In essence, you've been weighed, you've been measured, you've been found wanting. But you're kind of like also close enough that it feels like it's worth trying from time to time. It's like, I don't know if you, I'm really big into like the outdoors and hunting and like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know how elk work during in fact, right now, this time of year is the rut season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, there's all these bulls show up and you get like the kind of the bulls that are pretty, they're like a couple years in, they're just starting to come into their maturity and they think they're pretty tough. And they roll in and they find all the cows first, but the cows aren't quite ready to be in heat. But they run the herd for a while until the bigger bulls show up, and then the bigger bulls just like kick their butts. And then for the next 3 weeks, those younger elk, the smaller elk, run around the outskirts of the herds, trying to sneak in and somehow still get some kind of acceptance and find a little herd to section off and take themselves. But then they only do it as often as they're ready to get their butts kicked again, because as soon as they come in, they just get pounded again, over and over and over again. And in a certain sense, I get the picture that that's kind of how you've sort of lived your life in relationships. He's like, I'll go in and try, but proof that I suck. Okay, I'm going to back out. I get enough courage again. Oh man, I like her just enough. I'm going to try to do something. Boom, I get rejected again. And this time it's not just like, oh, we weren't a good fit or our personalities didn't match up, or what it means is proof that I suck. Proof that I suck, proof that I suck, proof that I suck. And now the emotionally charged experience of a teenage 14, 13-year-old boy is in the driver's seat of the grown man inside of you trying to navigate relationships.
Yeah. Yep.
And so part of the solution to this is to actually attend to the emotional 14 or 13-year-old, to get to know that part of you, to come to understand that part of you, to go and have an emotionally corrective experience with that part of you that allows you to realize that you didn't know it was happening, but you were fed messages from unknowing people rather than getting your message from the true source. And so I want to spend some time getting to know that part of me. And then I want to start putting that part of me in situations where there could be a different kind of an experience for that part of me. Right?
Yeah.
What would happen if that 13-year-old would have known how to speak what he was feeling and would have had a great mentor there? to say, hey, man, like, you got the goods, dude. Those kids are immature and they don't know what they're doing. And they all feel the same way you do.
Oh, yeah, probably a whole lot of the chain of events in my life would have happened differently. Yeah, my whole personality, everything would have been on a different track. If back then I would have had some healthy way to build the confidence to say, who cares if they think I, you're good.
Yeah. Or you would have had a couple of different emotional experiences that could have reinforced a different story
Yeah,
of, oh, yeah, hey, like there's a difference between getting rejected and not being a good fit. You
yeah,
know, the truth is we live in a world where you're probably going to sift through a whole bunch of people, whether it's friends or people to date, before you find someone who's actually pretty compatible.
um, yeah. I mean, the you're not a good fit. The conversation over it. It's just like so and so likes me now, so bye.
Yeah. Right. Right. That and even that is like, okay, and then whose issue is that? Is that because you're not lovable, or is because that was somebody else making a different choice and it had nothing to do with your value?
Absolutely, yeah. But teenage brain me said he's better than me.
That's
He's a
right.
bigger herd bull than I am.
That's right. That's right. And because that's the only way you knew how to interpret it, and you didn't have someone in the crossroads there to say, "Hey, come here, man. Like, you're
Yeah,
good. Like, you're good. This is teenage kids being teenage kids,
yeah.
right?" Like, I remember this happening a long, long time ago. I think I referenced it several years ago on the podcast. But my youngest daughter, we went to my oldest daughter's high school soccer game, and at halftime they go play soccer out on the field, and my youngest daughter's a little girl. She goes running out there. There's three girls playing together, and my youngest daughter runs out there, and I'm like, okay, that's perfect. They'll have four. They'll be even teams. They can play on the field together. She goes and stands next to them, and they ignore her. So then she walks into them, and I see her talk to them. And I know she's asking if she can play with them, and then they all said, no, we have enough. We don't want to play with you. So I'm watching her up in the stands, and my wife and I are watching her, and she's standing there at the 50-yard line getting rejected by three other girls her age. And she's standing there just now twiddling her thumbs, like, oh no, I don't know what to do. And I can just see her folding into herself.
Mhm.
She's just like almost becoming paralyzed, you know? I mean, you can imagine what you would have felt like in the same spot.
Oh
And
man.
my wife gets on the phone and she calls my second daughter, and who's out on the field, older girls, and she said, hey Lexi, go find your sister. She's at the 50-yard line, and take her with you to play with those other girls. And so Lexi went and grabbed her, went and played. Halftime ends that night when we're tucking her into bed. Sorry, I'm getting emotional about this
Maybe.
because we all know what it's like to be that one that's rejected, right? So as we're tucking her into bed, my wife comes into my youngest daughter and she's like, hey, how was your day? And she's like, it was fine, mom, this and that and the other. Like, I played with my friends and this and that. And then my wife said, I noticed at halftime today that it looked like there were some girls that didn't want you to play with them. And my daughter instantly just broke. She just started sobbing, just crying. No one likes to get rejected that way. And I thought my wife was so brilliant because she sat there with him. She said, I know that hurts so bad. And she said, but I want you to know that that has nothing to do with you. She said, those little girls, they don't have social skills to know how to play with somebody different. They haven't been taught by their parents how to be inclusive, and they have some problems. And they're going to have to figure that out, and that is not your fault. Oh my gosh. My wife just took what was shame to my daughter and she turned it into humiliation. She turned it into this like moment of, yeah, what they did wasn't very nice. They weren't being nice in that moment, instead of you suck. Right. And in a certain sense, Micah, that's kind of what you have in front of you right now. You got a 14-year-old self that needs the equivalent of my wife to step in and say, hey, dude, like you're living a lie. You have day-to-day interactions with yourself, little small things that are happening right now where you feel rejected and you just automatically believe the truth. Every one of those moments is a crossroad to meet yourself in a different way and to do something different than the autopilot has always done. So when somebody rejects you at work and you feel that same pit in your stomach, you're like, oh, you're going to make a phone call to somebody. You're going to do some self-care. You're going to stop and catch yourself and hold your heart for a second and say, man, I need some self-compassion right now. Oh man, my 14-year-old's in the driver's seat again right now. What does that 14-year-old need right now? What does he need?
Yeah, he's good enough. He's got enough points on top.
Yeah, he's got enough points on top. Yeah, he's always had the goods. He was in a different situation, but he's always had the goods. And the truth is that the goods were planted in there by somebody different than who he's been getting his answers from his whole life.
Yeah.
You didn't realize it, but you were letting other people, other flawed, broken human beings dictate your value rather than letting the true source feed you your value.
And it's too many times. I know this is unhealthy as heck, but there's too many times. I've got teenage boys, and at this time and stage in their life, all teenage boys when they're in their mid-teens are idiots. And yeah, they go on a stage every once in a while. It's let's roast and rage bait dad for all afternoon kind of thing. And I have a hard time letting that go. Not taking it's not once again I'm turning to somebody else for my acceptance. So when the boys want to taunt dad, the other day I had him pick up my guitar from my guitar shop, having some work done for it, and he gets home and he says, "Your devil's instruments in the trunk of my car." And I come back with it. Would he come back? Well, we're all devil's instruments. We're just doing the Lord's work. And but I ate at that and ate at it, and it ate at me, ate at me, ate at me. I'm like, and I'm sitting there, spend the whole weekend going, should I give this up for him? Does this really bother him? Does this really offend him? Does he really think that this is offensive? I finally had to go ask my 18-year-old daughter, hey, do I need to go ask him about this? She said, no, he's just being an asshole. So I'm sorry for the word.
Yeah.
So, and I just had to find, it's just, even now, even with my kids, I constantly, trying to be good enough for them, because I feel in so many ways I'm failed today. Constantly trying to play catch up, and maybe I don't need to play catch up. Maybe I just need to start right here and.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder. That's a perfect example. The daily practice of that is, I wonder if I offended my son, and I wonder if I need to go get rid of my guitar or whatever else, because that's gonna. Instead of that, what if you were being sensitive to like, oh, I don't want to hurt my kid's feelings because that's part of who I am. But what if when you were feeling that, you actually had a different pattern, where you went and sat with yourself and had some deep introspection and said, hey, like, how do I feel about playing the guitar? And how does God feel about my ability to play the guitar? And what would God say I should do with that?
That's another. Right now the only place I play in publicly is in church. Played yesterday and had a blast. Comments again.
Your microphone's acting up again.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Okay. I play on Sunday, and I tend to try to even go back and watch the live stream on Facebook after the church, going, where did I mess up at? Who and I finally just my worship leader like, you made a mistake. Who cares? But most people in the audience didn't even realize you made a mistake. And then I get home, my son is like, "Yeah, Dad, just trying to be the center act." And I'm like
Yeah.
asking myself, "Yeah, I mean, does he really think that, or is once again he just being a little rear end?"
Yeah.
And so,
Well, and again, that's a fair question to ask yourself, but the issue about what we're talking about today is
yeah, go for it,
that's
man.
not that's not the
Oh,
pathway forward. The pathway forward is between me and God. Is God good with me playing the guitar imperfectly, but playing it? And that's the answer. That's the answer. And then after I get the answer, I can go and then adjust to whatever I need to with my relationships with other people. Right? The same thing's true in a marriage. Like if my wife comes to me and she's like, Tyler, you need to do this, 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 and this, and this in order for us to save our marriage. I'm going to take that into consideration, and then I'm going to go to God and I'm going to say, hey, God, like which of these things would you have me do? And which of these things are not in line with my own values? And then how do I take that and assimilate the things that are right between you and me, and then go and have a healthy conversation and set boundaries with my wife around these other things? And let the chips fall where they're going to fall, because that's where we've gone wrong in our lives, is we're always running it through other people first instead of pausing and saying, huh, that's interesting. Like my son just said that, and you're going into like, oh, is he mad at me? And is he being this and that and the other? Instead of like, whoa, like, I wonder what's going on for my son that would make him so critical. Like, God, what do you think I should do for my son? That's not even there because you're so worried about your son telling you you're good enough. But what if you went to God first and God was like, hey, man, like, strum that guitar, play the hell out of that thing. You're going to mess up. And you know what? Your son's hurting. You might want to go check in on him. What if that was the answer instead of, oh no, I better hurry and make sure my son's happy with me? Right? That's the practice. So I'm going to pause. So I know we're out of time, getting close on time here in just a few minutes, but the day to day, anytime that questioning steps in, anytime you feel, I don't know if you feel it or not, I feel my own, like your 14, 13-year-old kid that's like wondering if he can fit into the herd. Every time that comes up, I'm going to encourage you to do something. You're going to pause, take a big, deep breath. Maybe 2 or 3 of those. Just breathe. And you're going to notice what's going on. And you're going to say, man, I feel this tightness in my chest. I feel my jaw clenching. I feel my head spinning. I'm starting to ask all these questions. I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling fearful, or I'm feeling like not good enough, whatever that is. I'm going to give it a name. I'm feeling my sadness or my shame or my 14-year-old or my rejection, whatever. I'm going to give it a name. Then put your hands over your heart. This is going to sound cheesy while you continue to breathe. And for a minute, just do this for a second with me, Micah. Just tell me if you can feel this. Take your hand, your right hand, and put it directly over your heart, your palm, and press just firm enough that you can feel the pressure there. And then imagine, can you feel heat coming from the palm of your hand? Can you feel that heat going into your chest?
mm-hmm.
With each in-breath, imagine breathing in that warmth all the way into your core. Let it enter your heart and breathe all the way into your core. Can you feel that warmth start to spread? Imagine that warmth start to spread.
Yes.
So then as that starts to spread, you're going to remind yourself that what you're feeling is absolutely human. That pretty much almost every teenage boy has not been the herd bull before. Every teenage boy knows what it's like to scramble for acceptance. And then you're going to talk to yourself like you would your best friend. Hey, man, you got the goods. They were already born into you from the beginning. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to have the wind knocked out of you, but you have what it takes. You've always had what it takes. You're lovable. You're worthy. You're strong. And then you can take your hand off your heart and go about your day. What are you feeling right now? What are you thinking right now, Micah?
Hopeful.
Yeah.
Feeling hopeful. Yeah.
You know what's cool
I don't
about
have to
this?
walk out. I don't have to walk out the door every morning feeling like, yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Go to my job and feel like I'm just enough for the people at home. I come home and feel like I'm filling a necessary slot, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even the slot that you're feeling is also part of who you are. You're a guy who lives with duty and loves his family and like takes care of his responsibilities. That's who you are.
I know.
Yeah.
I know I'm slipping up, and I never forget it.
Even if you don't get a hug.
I
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. Well, I'm feeling a ton of love for you right now. And I feel like there's a whole bunch of other wounded little boys listening right now that also might just consider that they don't have to live that way anymore. So every time this comes up, the good thing is that if you spend a lot of time in your head being critical, you get to practice this a lot of times. So every time you notice it, you're going to meet yourself with that exercise. In addition to that, your daily charge, which you've probably heard on the show before, I just talked about it in the last episode, and then having a good team, like making sure that there's a couple other people in your life that can just hear and hold whatever it is you're processing. And then on the deeper side of things, I think if you're doing any one-on-one therapy with anyone or something, I think you have a gold mine of opportunities for some ART or some EMDR or IFS if you have a good therapist that can do that. So yeah. Okay. And if you need help with that, then I'm sure we can get you connected to somebody who's really good with that kind of stuff. So
right now, our focus is she's already knows she needs that, and she's committed to starting that. So
cool.
Right now, my focus is taking care of her first.
Cool. I mean, that's whatever you got to do, man. But you can also take care of yourself in these other ways.
Yeah.
So, thank you for your willingness to come on and be so real, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have no idea what this means to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I appreciate you willing to come on and share yourself the way you do, and appreciate the listeners who are here that are probably providing some kind of support without you even knowing it right now. And yeah, thank you to our listeners. And until next time, you guys, keep on keeping on.